Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the guardian of the blue paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, the Hockey Writers Inc. welcomes legendary NHL YouTube Play-by-Play caller John from Off the Wall Hockey. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. I'm your host, Lance Green. Steel?
Hey, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers, and holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen, do you see who's sitting here with us? I think I see. Lance, do you see who's sitting here with us?
I do.
That's right, folks. We're talking about the GOAT of the greatest of all time, YouTube Play-by-Play for all the NHL. We're talking about John from Off the Wall Hockey. Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty well. Excited to be here and excited to be getting back into hockey season for sure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my gosh, dude. I mean, look, first of all, let's just start off by saying this. You guys need to be following John from Off the Wall Hockey. We do not call him the GOAT for nothing. He is the best NHL YouTube play-by-play caller out there, hands down. Drop microphone, go hit the like and subscribe. Done now.
Somebody give this man a job. Somebody.
You know. Anyway, so John, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. Look, we're going to kind of wrangle you a little bit here, and we're going to talk a little bit of orange and black.
Yep.
We all know that you're from the Boston area, but you have a very unique perspective because not only are you just a Boston fan, but you are a fan of the NHL. You've done shows about the Flyers. You've done shows about all the other teams, things of that nature. So we kind of want to get your take, your opinion, your thoughts. Yeah, you know, whatever you think. Yeah.
Definitely watches a lot of hockey, a lot of different teams, you know, has a good overview of everybody in the NHL for sure. So.
Exactly. So we want to just kind of get your take on, you know, the Flyers, what you think, where you think, who you think, where you think, why you think.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready.
Right? Okay, good deal. Mr. Lance Green, Mr. Green. Hey, Mr. Green, how you doing?
Well, I'm not doing too well. Neither are the Flyers. Talking point number one, guys, sad to say, of course, everybody's heard Sean Couturier is out once again, this time with a herniated disc in his back. He's had problems before, been out parts of the past 2 seasons, and now he doesn't even get to play one game before he's out yet again. So 3 or 4 days before the official start of Flyers training camp, potential Flyers captain to be, who knows, could have been named that for sure, still might be, has sustained yet another long-term injury, this time suffering a herniated disc. So while this certainly doesn't bode well for the team, it may be worse long-term, I'm thinking, financially for the Flyers. Coots just signed, as we know, a deal. He's 29 years old, and the team gave him an 8-year deal. That was kind of a moment for me as well, especially with so many bad contracts that the Flyers have handed out in the past. This seems like another one. 8-year, $62 million deal Chuck gave him with a full no movement clause for the first 7 years of the deal. The 8th, I think, has name about 10 different teams that he would be willing to go to. So it's a lot. It's a lot to swallow down here. I mean, the Flyers are stuck paying Ryan Ellis already, right? He came out today, of course, with Chuck Fletcher in the media. I don't know, if you guys saw it. I watched it, and he said Chuck said Ryan Ellis is pretty much going to be out all of this season. Doesn't look good, even career-ending possibility. So $6.25 million for the next 5 years. May never see the ice again. So that's kind of where we are, guys. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? As a Flyers fan, it's hard to stomach, but it's just another nail in the coffin for me here, I think.
John, I want to know what you think about just those two injuries with Sean Couturier and Ryan Ellis. Look, we already pretty much knew that Ryan Ellis was, I mean, the writing was already on the freaking wall, right? But Sean Couturier was looking to be coming back healthy in the whole 9 yards. So what are your thoughts on just those two major announcements?
Well, it's brutal because they're such important players, and it's not like these are, depth fourth line guys. Like, this is a guy that, if healthy, would be a top 6 forward, and if healthy, would probably be on your top pair on defense. So these are major players in that lineup that are not going to be in that lineup. And you also have the contract implications with Couturier signing that long-term deal. He may, I mean, whenever I hear back, I start shaking my head, because that can be brutal for hockey players. He may never be the same again. It takes a team that is already, had some tough years the past couple years, is kind of down in the dumps to begin with, and it just makes it even worse for them with two major pieces that you haven't even played a preseason game yet, and they're already done. It's like this. You just have to sit back and kind of shake your head. And they're two guys that I think, when they're healthy, are very good players, but just can't seem to get healthy.
Exactly. Here's on top of Bobby Brink being out, 5 months, maybe the entire season. Joel Farrabe being out for at least the first month-ish or so of the season. I mean, it's like, hey, let's pile on. I mean, does it kind of feel like that?
Yeah. So let's chew on this. Maybe a bright spot to this. Stay with me. Ryan Ellis, like I said, 6.25 for the next 5 years. Couturier, is going to be 7.75 for the foreseeable future. A guy who only played 29 games last year and 45 the season before, looks well on his road to be heading down the same path Ellis is already heading, because as we know, before the Flyers even traded for him, he's had like 10 seasons in the NHL. Not one of them did he finish all 82 games ever. So you knew he was injury prone before trading for him, and they did anyway. But that's a combined $14 million in dead cap space this year for the Flyers, if these two are going to be out for long term, right? $14 million. So let's look at the bright side of this. What could Chuck do? And should he do anything, in my mind? Or can he save his job? Looking long-term IR, I'm thinking here, guys. $14 million. Let's look at that, when they can put that into place. You look at a team like Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay did so well with this in previous years, when you had Steven Stamkos, Kucherov, Braden Point out, long-term injury reserve. They were able to go out and get players to help them stay in the playoff mix until those guys got healthy. And then when they came back, they were smart enough to dump who they needed to dump, or hide who they needed to hide salary cap wise, and get right back to it. Should the Flyers do this with a couple of guys rumored out there? And one person I'm thinking is JT Miller from Vancouver, a center to replace Couturier in my mind. He's 29 years old. He had 32 goals last year, 67 assists, 99 points, plus 15, right? He's got a cap of 5.25. Vancouver's rumored to have him on the trade block because they are $2.75 million over the cap right now. Yeah. They've already had talks with him. He's in the last year of a contract. They don't know if they're going to be willing to be able to sign him back. So That's a name they have out there, a center who could jump up and play top 6 minutes to stay in there till Coots could come back. And another name I have that I like out there is Edmonton's Jesse Puljujarvi, 24 years old, fits that young mix. They just re-signed him to a 1-year, $3 million deal, so you might not say, why would they get rid of this guy in my mind? But he had 14 goals, 22 assists, 36 points, was a plus 22. Edmonton's currently $7.5 million over the cap right now. So
yeah, they could use some relief.
He's been rumored as well. I think he would. We're kind of heavy on that right side that he plays.
Yeah.
But I don't know if somebody could switch to the left. Of course, we got a big open hole over there with not signing Giroux. So just a lot of things that I'm thinking Chuck Fletcher could do in my mind to kind of save the season. But should he? Should he just tank, in my mind? I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, because, this draft is plentiful with some top 5 talent for sure yet again. And do the Flyers already have game plans with missing so much in the offseason and didn't really sign any stars to come in, didn't really relieve any of the cap to do so? Are they just playing possum anyway and just trying to go belly up so they can go after Bednar? What do you think, have John? To say? Yeah,
I think it's Connor Bedard season. I don't think there's any one move that the Flyers could even make that's going to drastically change this season. I don't think there's a one-man fix-all with this team, where if you go out and trade for a certain player, they're going to come in and just magically make this a playoff team. I think if you're Philadelphia here, you've got to play longer term rather than trying to just somehow do something this year. I think you've got to look a little bit further down the line than that. And, these guys are LTIR, candidates, and you can use that to your advantage, maybe not right now, but in the future. Or if another team, we've seen teams get desperate for LTIR space, and maybe they would take on Ellis's contract if they know that he's going to be on LTIR, and you could dump that, get a decent return, and then get his contract over to a team that needs that space.
Kind of like Phoenix did when they had
Arizona's been doing that now for the last 3 years. They're just piling on these LTIR contracts, but they're getting draft picks out of it and building for the future. And I just think that at this point, Philadelphia should be looking more towards the future than trying to save anything this season.
Okay, so let me kind of spitball that a little bit here with you on that, John, because we've talked about Philadelphia all last year. We had wonderful conversations about Philadelphia and whatever. Yep. Do you think that with the way the team has been assembled and everything like that, and with all that other stuff, and now with this cap space and everything, do you even trust the administration that's currently in place now with that? Because you can have, when they go on the LTIR, they go on the LTIR the day of the season starts. Okay? So some teams, and I can't remember if the Flyers are playing opening night or if they're playing the second night or whatever. I think they're playing the second or third night. Yeah. Okay. So if that starts that night, so that means they go on LTIR right then and there, then that money becomes available for you to go do what you need to go do, like what Tampa Bay has done in the past, right? So you're Chuck Fletcher now, John. What would you do to save your job? You got $14 million now to play with.
I wouldn't even know where to begin, because I don't think there's any saving his job. I wanted Fletcher gone last year. So
yes,
the fact he's even still there is incredible to me.
Yes.
But I don't, no matter how much money you gave him, unless he's pulling Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid, I don't think there's anybody that's just going to come in and just
make a
save
difference
this
this
team
year.
like that. I mean, unless he can pull a top six forward, a top pair D-man, maybe another top four D-man in that as well. Like, unless he could pull all that
and a backup goaltender
and another goaltender, it's just not going to happen. And the other thing is, when you're at that point in the season, teams at that point have pretty much solidified their rosters. They're not selling at that point. Nobody's going to be looking to make these major moves on day one of the NHL season. You've got to find a partner for a move like that. And I don't think there would really be anyone out there that's looking to make that kind of major move, because they've just solidified their roster to what they want it to be. They want to see what they have.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest here. We know Chuck Fletcher can't get the job done because you had a man in Johnny Hockey who's been saying publicly for 2 or 3 seasons now in Calgary how nice it would be to one day play in Philadelphia. And then days before free agency, he all but says he wants to come to Philly. He wants to come home. Chuck Fletcher couldn't get the cap space. It couldn't do a deal to relieve himself of the cap space. He already should have had the cap space and bought and paid for basically on reserve, so that he could on that day go after the hometown talent. But he didn't get the job done. So to even think like John said, to even think that he could do it and pull somebody out of his hat last minute is a farce at this point. I don't know why he still has a job either. He should have been fired at the end of the season. He should have been fired after free agency when his big haul was, Justin Braun for a third time coming back, and a 30-some-year-old fighter for 4 seasons.
About Justin Braun.
I don't know. Like, it's embarrassing at this point. He had a decent draft, but it doesn't even matter because the Flyers can't develop their own talent. They have to trust NCAA or somebody else to basically develop their talent to be NHL ready to the point to sign them and immediately bring them up, because they just destroy good talent in the system. So it's a lot to process, but
Well, all right. So let's process this. John, what do you think about John Tortorella as the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers? Like, I've heard so many other different takes. I've heard so many other different people talk about, it's Tortorella this, Tortorella that. He was not my first choice as coach. I thought Tortorella would have been a better coach back when AV was hired. Then I think it would have. So what do you think about Tortorella being coach of the Flyers?
Well, I think he's a guy that at bare minimum hopefully can get an effort out of this team. And that's the biggest thing with me. I don't think it matters who the coach is. This team's not going to win a lot of games. The problems with this team are roster construction. And you could have Scotty Bowman behind the bench, or you could have an AHL coach behind the bench. They're not going to win a lot of games. But I'm not judging the Flyers' success this year based on wins and losses. The things I'm looking for are effort level, give a crap meter actually being above 0, accountability, competitiveness, staying in games and really looking like you want to be there. Because far too many times over the past 2 seasons, I've watched Flyers games where they're out there on a Sunday skate. They look like they don't even want to be playing. There was zero effort. It was embarrassing and pathetic to watch. And I think with a guy like John Tortorella, that is not acceptable. And I think if there's anything that he can get out of this team, it's going to be an effort level, and he's going to grind them to the point where he says, if you're not going to show up and play, you're not going to be in the lineup, and we'll put guys out there who will. And honestly, I don't think he's going to care if he has to call up half of the guys from the AHL and at least have them be competitive on the ice and play their hearts out. And he'll do that if that's what it's going to take to get this team to have an attitude adjustment. And that's what I'm going to be looking for with the Flyers this year. It's not winning. It's not the win-loss column. It's how is their attitude, and do they show up and play these games? Because that is the biggest thing that I think Philadelphia is going to be able to do this year, is show a much higher compete level and a lot more effort in their games.
Well,
You know,
definitely.
we talked about it on numerous shows, that flyeritis. There's no flyeritis, right? You roll into Philadelphia and you're like, hey, we're rolling into Philly. All right, put a W in now.
Yeah, they become a free win.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. That's where I think the Tortorella difference is going to come in. I think he's going to make guys accountable, and if you're not going to be able, if you don't want to play on his train, then you're going to be out. You know, and I keep going back to this every single time, but it rings so true that the whole Mike Ditka thing, where he came into the Chicago Bears in the 80s and he said, look, we're going to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years, and 60% of you ain't going to be here. And he cleaned house, and they won a Super Bowl in 2 years, right? And he was right. 60% of them guys that were there that first day that he showed up weren't there for the Super Bowl. And that's what I think Tortorella is going to do for this team, is be that guy that's going to be like, if you are not on this train, then you're off.
Well, I think AV tried to do that in the past, like you said, but I think Tortorella is going to take it one step further. I always say, you know, if you look at the teams Tortorella has coached in the past, he doesn't care who you are, like you guys said. He wants effort. He's all those things John said, you know, he's preached. Since coming to Philly, he's preached that is what he's going to try to get out of these guys. That is what he's going to demand from his players. And it doesn't matter who's out on the ice for him. That's what he's going to get. He doesn't care if you make $8 million or $800,000. If you play every night and every shift, you will see ice time. And, you know, everywhere he's been in the past, some good players have had some hurt feelings and left or decided they wanted a trade. In all actuality, John Tortorella decided he wanted them traded well before that. So he pushed them out the door, like you said, Steel, rather than them coming to the conclusion on their own, like, hey, I don't want to be here, I don't want to play for him. He's already decided he don't want you here anyway. So,
yeah, pretty much.
You know, he just decided that for you. So that is what we expect from him. Hopefully he's able to do that. I think he has the realization that he's probably not going to get too many wins out of this season or this team this year, but they will be harder to play against. They will be in it till the last minute, or they won't be on the team. So that's all well and good. And I think that's what Philadelphia fans, the hardworking fans of Philadelphia, want to see. A lot of their favorite players throughout the years haven't ever been the best player on the ice. It's been the guy with the biggest heart, the hardest skater, the guy that gives the most.
The biggest lunch pail.
Right. And the guys that bring it every night. And that's what Philadelphia fans, you know, demand from their players and want. And those are the guys they buy jerseys of. And that is Tortorella to a T. So, you know, he may have not been the guy that they wanted initially. I think Barry Trotz was offered a very huge contract, rumored to be, you know, offered a very huge contract by the Flyers. Didn't take it, didn't take anybody's deal, wanted to take some time off. So, you know, we have Torts. Let's see what he can do. I don't think he's going to make miracles happen out there, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not expecting much of, you know, a huge amount of, like I said, I'm expecting to see a major roster turnaround within the next 2 years. And I'm like with you, John, I'm not really putting a lot of stock in it this year. I'm thinking it's going to have to be more of, you need to play for a draft pick.
Yep.
Okay. And then you need to continue to play for that and build that, because, and we've talked about it before, and I think this would be a really true statement if the Flyers organization came out and said, look, guys, we're going to pull a Pittsburgh. Not necessarily in those words, but you get what I'm saying. You know, no team tanks, quote unquote. Right? And I don't think Tortorella is going to be that coach, but I think you have to at least do your due diligence and at least, because doesn't it just seem like the Flyers, ever since Chuck has been hired, doesn't it just seem like they've always been like a day late and a dollar short?
I think that's been Chuck's MO since he's been a GM, even before he got here. Minnesota.
In Minnesota too.
Yeah, like half, great draft picks, didn't turn out to be the guy, except for, of course, one now that's, come out 5-6 years later in Kiprusoff. But, yeah, who knows? So.
Has he drafted anybody?
And that's the thing, too, with the Flyers. What Chuck Fletcher draft pick has made a substantial difference as of yet. Cam York has been the bright spot, and I mean he's looking to be a third pairing defenseman right now, buried behind Sanheim and Provorov. Like there's really nobody that has come out of his draft class, even though they said they're pretty darn good, and I think this last one was as well. But none of them have turned out to be a player right out the chute and been able to step in. And to be honest, I think the Flyers are tanking, because how do you draft a guy 5th overall and don't even have him at, camp right now? I don't think he's at camp right now. He's set to start in college. So I think they do
up in your neck of the woods there, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How jealous are we, Steel? How much, college hockey does this guy get to partake in? All these good teams up there. Good grief.
Yeah, I'm lucky. Hockey East is loaded with NHL picks. So
yeah,
especially if we're in your neck of the woods there, you know what I mean? You get to see a lot of those games. You go to a lot of those games too, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I've gotten to see a lot of the good teams: BC, BU, UMass, Providence, all them.
Exactly. I think he's going to Boston. Cutter Gauthier.
Boston College.
Yeah,
Boston University.
BU kid.
BU.
Yeah, I think he's going to BU. I don't think he's gone to Boston College. I think he's going to BU.
BU, yeah.
Yeah.
A couple Flyers have gone there.
They have a long line of Brady Tkachuk went there.
Yeah. Some great players out of there for sure.
Exactly. And another one of our draft picks is going to what is it, Connecticut, or another one up there too. It's
Vermont, I think.
Vermont. Is it Kaplan or Bump?
Bump's going to Vermont, I think.
Yeah, two of the Flyers' top draft picks are going up there to play college hockey up there in your neck of the woods there, John, up there in Boston.
That'll be cool to see. That'll be cool to watch.
I mean, you'll get to watch them play real well, and then that's about all you get to see. You know what I mean? That's because. So, all right. Now that camp has started, right, and we started some camp right now. We've gotten your opinion on what you think of Tortorella. What do you think so far of what you've seen out of the Flyers camp so far? I mean, you saw there was the rookie game, and I think it was a split between the Rangers, right? It was the Rangers won the first one and the Flyers won the second one, or something like that, I think it was. So, is there any name that stands out to you from the Flyers? I mean, other than, of course, Couturier and Ryan Ellis and all those stuff. But is there any names that are standing out to you, John? That, I mean, you watch a lot of hockey, and you pay attention to a lot of the young prospects and everything too. So, what names really just kind of stand out for you, if any?
Man, where to even start? One, not looking at prospects, but guys on the Flyers now. I want to see what Tortorella can do with Travis Konechny, because I loved him his first couple years in the league, and he played with such a chip on his shoulder and had such an attitude about him, and that's been completely gone for the last 3 or 4 years. It just completely went away. And it's like as he became a little bit more of a scorer, the edge that he played with just disappeared. And I want to see Tortorella try and work that edge back into Travis Konechny, because I think he's going to be a lot better and a lot more effective of a player if he has that chip on his shoulder again. And I being from Massachusetts and watching the Bruins, and I get to watch Brad Marchand all the time. And yes, he goes over the line sometimes, but he is a guy that he has to play with that edge for him to be effective. And even though he's become a superstar winger with 90 plus points, 100 plus points, he still keeps that edge in his game and that chip on his shoulder. And I think for Konechny to get back to being the effective player that he can be, he needs that edge back in his game.
Yeah.
And it's been gone the last couple years. I want to see that early career Travis Konechny come back, and I think he can be a guy that scores 25 to 30 goals and play that way.
Well, two things to him. One, I think he needs the people to play with. Giroux is gone. His supporting cast that was setting him up to score those goals is now gone. In Voracek and all those guys. So that's one. Second off, I think what really hurt him is Nolan Patrick being shipped out. Being in the locker room with those guys before COVID and all this, where they kicked us all out, it was always him and Nolan, like everything, like right together all the time, sitting next to each other, talking every second they had. And since he's been shipped out, it's like Konechny's shipped out. Like his head's not there. He's still a little bit of that antagonizer, and getting under people's skin. But, okay, that's why we have guys on the fourth line for that. Like, we need you to do that and score goals like your guy in Boston, Brad. So it's tough. Yeah, I think the key to that success is he had such good success in 24 goals 3 years in a row when he first came out, and now it's just boom, gone. And I think what maybe a lot of people don't know is that he was really close with Nolan Patrick, and that just took the wind right out of his sails when he left, and when Nolan went up in flames, or injury wise. So
shame about that too, because I also read that he will be missing the season this year as well.
Already.
Yeah, Nolan Patrick. Yeah. So gosh, man.
And it might be career ending. They're saying the how many times has this happened, and the kid is still under 25, and he's still got the rest of his life to worry about. Hockey is a sport. At the end of the day, hockey is a sport.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
What condition, if you keep playing, are you going to be in when you're 40 and 50? And dealing with these post-concussion symptoms and everything like that, and like being in the locker room again when him dealing with all that after practices, even he was not with it. Yeah. Like Konechny was helping him along the way a lot. He would just blank out. Like it is scary to see. And just while in the middle of taking off his skates. So definitely scary to see that kind of thing for somebody so young and somebody so talented, to be drafted where he was. So but other standouts in my mind, I think Forrester was great in a rookie camp. That NHL shot that everybody's talked about before being drafted is still there. Yep. His skating has gotten a little bit better. Zumala, in my mind, really came to light some of those rookie camps, and I believe he should get a look more. If somebody gets injured, he needs to be in there. He's on a restricted free agent deal. Next year. At the end of the season, he's going to be a restricted free agent. So I think the Flyers got to see what they got with him. He came in with a lot of expectations, a lot, and I think in my mind, watching him in camp, even the past couple of years, he really shuts down guys in camp and everything. I think he could be an integral part. But when the Flyers keep signing these Nick Sealers and all these other guys,
Morgan Frosts, and
well, I mean, defenseman wise.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to get that in there.
All these guys in their 30 plus years old, you're blocking this young player's progression. So they got to stop doing that as well. Sam Urson was great in that. He had a couple of good games in rookie camp. But I don't know, a lot. We'll have to see now that day one of real camp has started, so we'll have to see if they can hang.
And now that Couturier is on the block now too, that's going to open a slot hopefully for. I mean, we talked about this in the last couple of shows too, and I know, John, that you watched some of the rookie tournaments that took place, especially for the NHL, and you called a couple of those games, and yeah, I snuck in on a couple of them. So I have a ghost account that nobody knows about, so I sneak in on some of that stuff. So anyway, but and I too was very impressed with Tyson Forster. You know what I mean? And I was a little bit. I feel that Forster and Cam York, those I believe should be two names that come out and make the team. I want to see two youngsters make this team out of camp. And now with Ryan Ellis out and with Couturier out, I think that should absolutely positively happen, because at this point, what do you have to lose? And you get to see what you got in those particular players, like even Azade Wisdom, or, I mean, you know what I mean? There's so many different players on this team right now that you could give them a shot. I mean, what do you think? John, what do you think? I mean,
I definitely think that if I was putting this lineup together, I'm going young. I mean, at this point, there's no point in the 35-year-olds. There's no point in the borderline veteran guys who are depth pieces at best. There's no point. It's those guys can be solid depth pieces in a certain situation, usually on playoff contenders who they can fill in when injuries start to hit, and they do a pretty good job of filling in that role. But on a team like this, where you're not expected to win anyway, everyone knows you're probably going to be one of the bottom teams in the conference, you might as well play the youngsters and let the kids really start to play NHL games, get
develop,
that experience, develop them a little bit, and really, from an organizational standpoint, see what you have. Yes. Who has an NHL future? Who doesn't? Who should you be packaging in trade deals at this year's deadline? Like you've got to get a gauge on some of these guys. And I remember guys that came up with the Flyers over the last few years that really never became more than any depth pieces. Guys like Lazinski played a few games, Connor Bunneman, Abe Kubel's gone on to become kind of like a fourth line extra forward type guy. But those guys got games, and we saw that what they were, and they were depth pieces, and that's all they've ever become. You got to find that now with some of these young guys. Who are they just depth pieces? Do some of these guys have that upside where they could become more than that? Those are the guys that you got to focus on keeping and developing and helping them reach that. Maybe they get up to the third line, second D pair. Can they move up the ranks more than we've seen from some of these guys in the past? And I think until they're playing games and you get a look at them on a nightly basis, you're going to kind of be playing a guessing game. And I want to see those guys in the lineup, and the organization should be looking for what do we have with these players.
Well, a couple of things with that, too. Chuck Fletcher came out today in a press conference, and he stressed that you very well may see a very young team, a lot of people under 25 years old, just because of that reason. But, I think that it hurts in the same token, and he's kind of contradicted himself with the signings that he's made, because, like we said before, York, it needs to play, in my mind, top 4 minutes. If he is that guy of the future, then you need to do something with either move, Sanheim or Provorov, in my mind. He's a left-hand shot defenseman. If he is supposed to be the guy, you need to move out one of those guys so he can play top 4 minutes. Do not play him on the right side. If you have to because of injuries, why not move Provorov, who's a 5-6 year pro, over to the right side and let the young kid play his, standard position that he's been playing? Why throw him to the wolves? But at the same token, like I was saying, where Chuck Fletcher kind of contradicts himself, with the PTO signings, the Flyers invited, a 32-year-old Anton Roussel, scrapper guy, antagonizer, and a 34-year-old Artem Anisimov.
Yeah,
So
Anisimov.
He's been playing in the KHL. Like, why are you inviting these over-the-hill guys to come in? Like you said, John, those guys that should be invited to teams that are playoff teams that may need that one guy on that third or fourth depth guy, that 13th player on the roster that could be slotted in to help them out in case injuries prevail. They had a lot of cases out there that they could have signed players like Sonny Milano, who I really like. Zach Aston Reese went to Toronto. Chastain, I really like. He's 31, but he's a big body player who added some 13 goals last year. He went to Arizona. You can't tell me that, if he was invited here, that he may see us sign a contract here over Arizona. Daniel Sprong went to Seattle. He's a 25-year-old kid who had 14 goals last season. And those are all PTO guys, like that would fit the Owen Tippett's and the Joel Farabes and so many of those younger guys that we have coming up that you want to see, the Milanos of the world that would just slot right in and help out and fit that mold. Maybe they're not the replacement for Giroux, obviously, that kind of point production, but I think they would help build that young core that the Flyers are talking about trying to put out there more. So these signings in my mind of, these third and fourth line players that are over 30 years old, like we said, are just head scratchers to me in my mind. I don't know.
So I got a question for you guys. If let's just turn back the hands of time, and let's say this is, dream world, and suppose that Couturier was healthy and Joe Farrabe was healthy and Bobby Brink was healthy, and I'll even say Ryan Ellis was healthy. We'll even give you Ryan Ellis, right? And this is the team you're going to put out on the ice now, okay? With all the guys I just said that are all back healthy. Kevin Hayes, Couturier, Konechny, right? You got Cam York, you got Provorov, Sanheim, the whole schmagiggle, Frost, all them guys, right? Do you think that team is a contending team? Because the reason why I'm going to ask you that is because the administration thinks that is a contending team. And that's why they did the moves that they made with that in mind, that we are a contending team. We're that one backup goaltender away. We're that one top 4 center away. We're that one top D pairing guy away. John, what do you okay, here's the roster that, this is dream world, okay? Everybody's healthy, right? I'm even giving you Ryan Ellis, right? What do you think?
They're a wild card team.
You think?
I think they're a wild card team, perfectly healthy. Things go well for them. 4th, 5th, or 6th in that division, depending on how things go.
Wow. Okay, I have to say I'm a little blown away by that.
I think if you gave them full health with Couturier and Ellis and Farrabe and gave them full health, I think they could potentially pull 4th in that division. 5th or 6th, probably pretty easily.
Okay.
They'd be on par with like the Islanders, Columbus, around those teams. They'd be pretty on par with them.
Okay. All right. Lance?
I would say 5th or 6th. Questions and goals still. Carter Hart, even if he was healthy, he's been the worst, probably starting goaltender in the East in their division, besides maybe the Devils goaltenders. So and you don't have a solidified backup. It should be a 1A option in my mind, because this should be Carter Hart's last year in my mind as a go-to guy. His win percentage has been horrible over the last 2 seasons. Even healthy, you still don't have a star. You didn't go out and replace Giroux. Cam Atkinson is not a guy that, or Kevin Hayes, whoever you want to throw out there. There's not one name out there that is going to go against anybody on the top. I could name 3 guys off Boston I'd rather have than any one player on Philadelphia's roster right now. I don't see them having the star power to get it together.
Wow.
And that's like you're saying, still a big if you had Kevin Hayes, who's been injured 2 or 3 seasons in a row, healthy. That's if you had Couturier healthy 2 or 3 seasons in a row. He's been not healthy. That's a lot of big ifs there.
Of which we already know, most of them are not even there.
Ryan Ellis, he's never been healthy in his whole career for a full season. So that's a lot of big ifs. There's still, even if it all was a magical season and everybody was healthy, I still don't think this team treads water, because you have Columbus that has got astoundingly better with the players that they brought in. I think that they will, they're going to play nice together with Patrick Laine there and really get him going, hopefully. I think the Devils have bettered themselves with their draft picks, with a lot of their young youth getting better because they've been playing their youth. They've been losing, yes, but they've been losing with their youth in the lineup, gaining experience. The Islanders, they're going to fall apart, but there's other teams. Boston's right there again. New York's, the Rangers are there. Pittsburgh's there. They need to get younger for sure. But the Capitals are right back again. And, if they're healthy, they're going to still be ahead of the Flyers, even if it was a storybook season and everybody stayed healthy and everything went well. And Konechny came back with 20 goals a year. They're still nowhere near even the teams that maybe Wayne Simmons and Hartnell were on, and all those where we had 7 guys that had 20 goals a season. They don't have this roster. Even if everybody was healthy, they may have 20. They may have 2 20-goal scorers, maybe 2 25-goal scorers if everybody was absolutely healthy, in my mind. And that's not going to get it done in this division, because this division is definitely solid. I mean, this is like the NFC East division of old, where you had powerhouses. Everybody was winning at least 8 or 9 games. This is a lot of good teams and a lot of hard-fought hockey every night, because all these teams hate each other and have for some time. And Columbus is just coming over to this, and
I am not looking forward to the games against Boston. I am not looking forward to the games against Pittsburgh. I am not looking forward to any of the games. Carolina. I mean, look, we're just going to get whitewashed across the league this year, I think. I mean, I just see that. I just do. Look, even if, okay, so I'm going to answer the question that I asked you guys. I think there's still too many holes away from being in contention, even if everybody's still healthy. And the reason why I say that is because you don't have a solid backup in Carter Hart. After Carter Hart, then what? And we all know that Carter Hart has not seen a full season yet either. Okay. And frankly, if he misses time, okay, it's not going to hurt us anyway. I'm just kidding. But that's kind of where my whole thing goes back to, is that the goaltending is very suspect. Your certain players are playing out of position over other players, and you got too many old guys in there instead of the young guys in there. Do you know? And so I don't, even if everybody was healthy, even if Ryan Ellis was in there and Couturier was in there and D'Angelo was in there and, Tippett's in there and the whole schmagiggle, right? I still don't think they're there yet. I still think they need that. They need to solidify that defense, and because of the Justin Brawns and the old guys coming in there and filling up spots, I don't see that. I just don't. So I would say they would be on the bubble of wild card. That's where I would put the Flyers.
I'd say they'd be a bubble team.
Yeah, I would put them as a
that'd be
bubble
if
team.
everyone was healthy, which we already know isn't going to happen.
And now let's segue off of that, right? So now they're a bubble team, right? They go in and they get crushed by, let's pick a team, Boston, Carolina, Tampa Bay, whoever, right? They get crushed in the first round. Now you're picking 20th.
Not helping. Yeah, not helping.
Right? Or 15th or...
That's the worst place to be.
Okay! You see what I'm saying? So I don't get it. What's the end game here?
The end game should be, like John said, playing the youth. I would be totally okay if this team just chalked it up and said, hey, we're going to suck for a few years, but we're going to play the youth. We're going to get some exciting talent in here in the next couple drafts, and we're going to rebuild. But they don't even want to do that. They don't bring all their talent in like some teams do, and play them in the AHL all together so that they develop together. They have all their talent spread all over the place, all over the world in different places. So, why? You have guys playing in the SHL, you have guys playing in the KHL, the OHL, all over Canada, all over the NCAA, and you're dependent on those teams to develop your talent instead of you doing it yourself. Why is Couturier going anywhere but to a Flyers roster this year? Do I think he's deserving of an NHL spot? I think he may be a year away from it, but I'd rather have him. Personally, I'd rather have him. You draft him.
Give me the 9 games. Give me the 9 games.
Have him in Flyers camp. At least give me 9 games, and let me see what he has. I don't know. I mean, you have nothing. You literally have nothing to lose. But speaking of Owen Tippett, you said that you talked about him. The NHL Network has Owen Tippett as one of their top 10 breakout players this year. Now, I really like this kid. I really liked this kid before he was drafted. I was watching him in Minnesota with the Steelheads. He's one of those guys, like Forster, that had an NHL shot before even being drafted. Just amazing talent. I really thought he was buried in Florida. With their past coaching and administration, they wanted to get people's butts in the seats. So they tried to bring in veteran talents with a name that used to be something for years. And they really didn't get a chance to develop him. So the Flyers got him in a trade. Of course, I wish they got more for Giroux, but that's a past issue.
Water under the bridge.
But right. So Owen Tippett, I think, since joining the Flyers last season, I really thought he was a bright spot. Game in and game out, if you watched him, every time he stepped out on the ice, he was doing something good. He was making a solid play. He was forechecking. He was open, ready for a pass. Maybe it didn't get to him because of who he was playing with, Morgan Frost and others. So do I think he has the chance to be a breakout talent this year? Yes. But I don't think he's going to have, with the injuries that the Flyers have this season, I don't think he's going to have the talent around him to support that breakout season that he could have, because I really think that he could be a 20-goal scorer in the AHL. He has the shot. He has the wherewithal to be in the correct positioning on the ice when he doesn't have the puck. He knows where the puck is going to be able to pick it up and do something with it. I really, really like this kid, but I don't think that he's going to get the chance on the top 6 this season to be able, because that right side or whatever is pretty, bolted down with Atkinson and TK. They both get paid more than him, obviously. They're both expected to produce more than him, so they're going to get that chance on the top 6. But I really want to see this kid develop, because I think he has a chance of being something special still, even though he's, quite a bit older as a prospect at 23. But You know, the kid had 10 goals last year, 11 assists, and 21 points. What do you guys think? Does he have a shot at it?
Go ahead, John.
I absolutely think he has a shot. I think it's going to be tough this year. I don't see him being a top 10 breakout player just because there's a lot of young talent in the league right now. There's probably 10 just rookies that I could count that have a shot to have a real breakout season.
Yeah.
And there's so much young talent in the league right now. But I like Owen Tippett. I think Lance was 1,000% right talking about how he was kind of buried in Florida. He was kind of AHL, NHL, AHL, NHL, up and down. When he did play in the NHL, he was buried in the bottom six, played a lot of fourth line minutes there because Florida was just loaded with their forward group up front. So he didn't have room there. I think in Philly, I think he's, with the roster not being at Florida's level, he's going to have a little bit more room to move up and get some more minutes and get some more playing time. And I think he's a good player that eventually can reach those levels. I don't think it's going to be top 10 this season, but I do think he has a bright future. And I think he's a guy that Philly should look at as, one of those pieces that you want to keep around and start building. Try to find him some line mates that you can build with and get them moving up in that lineup.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect, because the only way I would build on that is he's not going to have the Couturier, which is what I really wanted to see him play with, was him and Couturier, because I just feel that would be really nice with the way Tippett's aggressiveness to the net is, and then with the way Couturier is able to make those plays because he's not afraid to go to the front of the net either. So I think that those two would have been a really nice pair.
I think he played well with Hayes last year. That's what I was
going to say. He's played a little bit with Hayes, and I think he's also played with Atkinson too. So we'll see. But I also agree. The last 17 games that he played for the Flyers last year, I mean, the guy was just all over the place. Like, he had chances. He was, being getting the puck to the net, trying. He wasn't really connecting, but I like his want to, like what John talked about at the very beginning. He has what the Flyers need, that desire, that want to, that ethic, that, I'm going out there and I'm laying it all out there on the ice because this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
I like that term. I like that term a lot. Yeah.
I'm playing for this, not this. You know what I mean? And so we need more of those guys. I think that's what Tortorella is going to do for this team. And so I think with Tortorella and Tippett now, I think you're going to see him blossom. And we've all know that Tortorella helps goaltenders. Okay, so yeah, he's probably going to help Carter Hart by putting a better system in front of him, but he doesn't really have all the players to play that system just yet.
You better put a piece of plywood behind Carter Hart, I think, at this point. I think Philly broke him. I seriously do. I think he was one of the best goaltenders coming out of the draft in the last couple of years, especially with all his awards and everything else he did in the WHL. And I think the Flyers just broke him. They didn't give him the support needed. They never really gave him a shot to really run with it when they should have, when he had all that confidence when he first came up, like maybe the Rangers did, or even the Islanders did with their young goaltenders when they came up. They gave him the reins, and let him run with it. And too many Brian Elliott games, too many Michael Neuroth games, to all, everybody just getting way too many starts and not enough for Carter Hart to really get going. And, with that horrid defense they had in front of them for those years, I think they just broke him mentally.
Now, John, you were going to say?
Oh, that's a shame, because I thought the potential was through the roof with Carter Hart. And Philly, they talk about the Philly goalie curse, but it seems
the graveyard.
They cannot find a franchise goalie, and I hope that if it's not in Philadelphia, I hope that Carter Hart can go somewhere else and start to put the pieces back together a little bit, and at least have a solid career. But man, that decor, like it's been so bad now for a number of years. It's just you're not gonna win consistently not playing defense. And the goals against that Philadelphia has given up, the numbers are abysmal. And it's got to start there. I mean, if you're building a hockey team, you've got to build it from the back out. Look at the teams that have a lot of success. It's goaltending outwards. And yes, they end up with superstar forwards, but you know, Tampa's had Vasilevsky, the Rangers have Shesterkin, Colorado had Kemper last year when they won the Cup. You got to build it from the back. And I think if Philadelphia going forward is going to, you know, kind of rebuild into a winning team, they've got to solidify the defense and goaltending and get those goals against down. The offense will come after. You've got to get the goals against down.
So Lance pointed this out a couple shows ago, but I think this completely rings true. And this is why I think we're probably going to see the last of Carter Hart this year. Do you remember seeing? No, I don't know, John, if did you see Dominic Hasek play?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Later in his career, but yes.
All right. He played on some really crappy teams.
Yes, he did.
But where is he now in the Hall of Fame?
Stanley Cup rings on his hands. Yeah.
He was that goaltender or type of goaltender that, yeah, he didn't play on the best teams, but he was the factor every night. Carter Hart is not the factor every night.
Yeah.
And he's playing on some crappy teams, and he is not the factor every night. So that's a shame. I really felt like you and everybody else that he was the franchise goalie. I think he may still be able to be if we get, defense in front of him, team in front of him, where he doesn't have to be, oh, by the way, Carter, you have to play all 82 games this year because there's no backup for you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no pressure. Right? So every year that Carter Hart has started for the Flyers have been super pressure years for him right out of the gates. I think maybe Hextall was right. He should have stayed in the AHL for a year or at least the first 20 games.
Hey, but I mean, at least Keith Yandel retired, all right? Because he was minus 47 last year for the Flyers, all right? So he's not going to be on the Flyers or any other NHL team at this point.
Wait,
so.
you mean he didn't sign a one-day contract to come on and be a Flyer for 1 year? By the way, congrats to Mr. Chara.
Yeah.
For quite the career and hanging it up. I mean, I think it's kind of classy that you get to go back to that team and sign for 1 day and retire as a Bruin or whatever. We've seen Joe Hayden do that with the Cleveland Browns. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you were converted. I thought you were on the black and gold side, but he signed a contract for the Browns. But
PK Subban retired as well.
Yeah, he signed a 1 year deal for the New Jersey or something, didn't he? Or did he just retire?
No, he just retired. I think he's got a show in the works. He's
he's going to be on
wanting to be in front of the camera
He'll be going right into media, definitely.
Yeah,
big personality there.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So, John, man, dude, I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it is to have you here, man. Your insight and your great personality, and love having you on the show, man. Why don't you tell the folks where we can find you and where we can get all your great stuff and how we can follow and subscribe and lay it all out there, man. Tout it all out there.
Off the Wall Hockey on YouTube. I'll be doing a lot of content all season long. I do play-by-play of games, so I'll be doing a ton of those this year. Other content coming out as well, just covering the entire NHL. So I've got fans of every team on the channel watching, and just try and have as much fun of it as we can. I've got an Instagram and Twitter pages as well. Off the Wall Hawk on Twitter. Just take off the EY from hockey, and OTW Hockey on Instagram. And keep up with news and signings, trades, stuff like that using the social media pages. So Just excited for hockey season.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you guys so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun. It was awesome to talk Flyers with you.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, man. I'll have all of the GOAT's credentials down there in the description there, so you guys can go and subscribe to his page, because you'll be missing out if you don't. I'm here to tell you, man, he is one of the best play-by-play out there on YouTube. So, John, we really appreciate you being here, man. Really, thank you very much. Lance, my main man, Pots and Pans, editor-in-chief of the SteelFlyers.com, all sports network, right? Yeah.
Right.
So, talk to me, brother. Talk to me. Give me some snot.
Yeah, so big things happening with the website, getting all squared away, all that good stuff, working out the little kinks and all that good stuff. Got some articles set to come out and all that good stuff. Really excited for what's going on. We're starting a new show. We already filmed one episode. It's called Prospect Watch. So it's going to be focusing on prospects from all over the world. Just people who we think that you guys should be watching, or at least should know. And it's really interesting. We've had a great guest on already for the first show. We've already booked a second one to come on and talk to us. So look for this new show coming out real soon. I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to like it. We're going to be talking about not just prospects, but guys that haven't been drafted yet and things of that nature. And it's not for the Flyers. This is going to be for the entire league. We're not focusing on any one specific team, but we think not only that you guys should be known about these guys, but GMs should be known about these guys too. So for sure. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate you checking us out. Just remember, you can check us all out on the web at steelflyers.com/links/off-the-wall-hockey/links/the Hockey Writers Inc. You can check all that great stuff out. But we would like to thank you guys for watching the Hockey Writers Inc. And we will catch you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.